Hello, everybody. Good to be with you. Today, I want to talk to you about the post-awakening time bomb. It's not a guarantee that it's going to go off for either for all of you who wake up, but it is going to go off for 95% of you who wake up. So probably worth paying attention to. I always thought I was going to be that rare exception to everything, and I turned out to be Mr. Ordinary right in the middle, guard variety. Oh, that special Fred. So what happens is you're always here and you're always clear. You can't not be here. You can't not be clear. You are the very here-ness of here and beyond. But you are beyond even manifestation. Manifestation actually springs from you. So there's only one thing going on, if you will. It's really not one as in the numeral one, and then there's a numeral two. We can say there's not two, whatever. It's just oneness is just easier to throw around. And typically when I talk of oneness, I am talking about manifestation. And oneness and consciousness would be actually synonyms for each other in this teaching. Oneness, manifestation, and God would all be synonyms. You could use any of the three. What I'm talking about is prior to all three of those. So, and what I'm talking about in a full awakening is, the fullest. I don't know. It's the fullest. There could be something beyond here. I don't know. See, I'm trying to make myself out to be an authority, and I'm simply not. I don't know. I can only direct you as far as I've gone. And this, I know that this is not the end. Is simply that when wherever you are, you just can't imagine being clearer than this. But you got to just recognize that there is such a thing, right? I think I've been awake now for and teaching for like 7 or 8 years or something, 9 years, and there's still a lot. I just noticed. I can't imagine being clearer than this, but I noticed that consistently that happens. That fresh insights still arise. But what happens is that the awakeness, through the guise of a body, through the experience of an ego, come to believe that you didn't wake up, that you almost got it, or you're very close, that you sort of woke up, or whatever. But there is the sense, but there's full knowledge that where you are right now, that this quote ain't it, right? And when I say this ain't it, I'm only talking about a mental construction that you have built, right? I don't mean about that any truth to this ain't it, because there's just one thing going on. How many it's can there be, right? It's got to be this, doesn't it? It's got to be this very one right here. So that you are. You can see, yes, you can see, but what you can see is you can see yourself. That's what you can see all the time. You're looking for yourself right through yourself, and while actually looking at yourself too. What you're really looking at is you're looking at an image, and what we come to believe is that we are, what we really are is that we are images in the mirror that you are, but the mirror can't see itself. And and guess what? We are actually reflections trying to decide if we believe in mirrors or not. Now you find something more ridiculous than that and pass it on to me. So, but what happens is that through the ego, it's believed that it's gone away. And this is not just my students, it's students all over. I've heard it from from numerous teachers. Like first time I think I remember talking about it was Adyashanti, who was about the only guy that was teaching post-awakening at that time. Still one of the very few. And he talked about when he first woke a lot of people up, right? That he had the power to basically, I mean, the power was working through him, whatever you want to say. But anyway, it would look to us like Adyashanti had the ability to wake people up basically on command. And a lot of people woke up. But then he got to thinking, man, I wonder what's going to happen when the other shoe drops. And the other shoe that dropping that he's speaking of there is the time bomb of post-awakening, which is where awakeness comes to believe that it lost awakeness. Because awakeness will not know it's awakeness that's come to believe that it's lost awakeness, that it's lost actually what it is. Awakeness will come to believe it's a human being, right? And once it does, once it believes it's one of these, then all things are possible, except contentment or whatever. There might be wild escapades of happiness and joy and bliss and this and that and the other, but contentment ain't going to be there. And that's what you actually want. You think you want. I know, because that's what I wanted, right? And it's not what I got, and thank goodness, right? I'm tired of the roller coaster, and you're tired of the roller coaster. If you weren't tired of the roller coaster, you would not be listening to this video right now. Now, I don't know how tired you are of the up and down of human existence, but you're reasonably tired. You're pretty darn tired, or you wouldn't be listening to this video. I promise. You might be listening to some other teacher, but you wouldn't be listening to this one. So when awakening occurs, who is it that wakes up? Well, we've covered all this before, but just as a quick catch up for everybody, it ain't this, right? This is what we think is going to wake up. We believe that this body is going to wake up. Now, what is this body in truth? It's conditioning. And amazingly, we believe that the conditioning here is going to wake up. And therefore, it will be wise and skillful from God. Good luck with that. I can tell you that I have heard of such things. I have never witnessed it in my life. And I don't think there's a lot of people that have seen more people come to awakening than I have, to tell you the truth. I mean that. It's certainly not, in a one-on-one basis. I don't think there's anybody close. But it doesn't matter. God, listen to the brain. Just be sure to get this in. See, you thought it was just you, but it's over here too. See, that voice is still there. I don't believe it, and I don't pay much attention to it. But I noticed I paid attention to it then with the don't put anybody a leg up above you. I mean, make sure that you keep yourself as the primary awakening vehicle in the universe, right? Which is such bullshit, right? It says it. I believe it, and then the next thing you know, Fred's up on the special teacher pedestal, and he is helpful to nobody. And what we really want is a teacher who will never step up on the special teacher pedestal, but that is not what you've got here. And I think if you examine it closely, you will see it is not what you get in most cases. The very best that can be done, apparently, until it can be done better, the very best that can be done is that through inquiry, I come to see lecture, right? Who is it? This looks like we had a little cutout, but who is it that is the special teacher? I can't find that one. So here's the thing. So they can't be a special teacher. So it just has to be this, believing A, that it's a human being, B, that it's a spiritual teacher, and C, now it's a special spiritual teacher. And at that point, my advice to you all is to run. Just run. Don't come back. Don't come back, because you can't reliably know whether I got back in the saddle again, right? So just It's tricky. It's tricky. But it hasn't happened for any duration here so far. There's been a willingness to be ordinary, which is that's the greatest gift that I can give to you, is to be absolutely ordinary. And trust me, this unit could not be more ordinary. And I like to think that that I know it's not the best unit in the world, so I love to think that it's the worst unit that ever was. But that's not true either. It's a garden variety unit. It made mistakes, and it makes mistakes. Now, these mistakes are only from my opinion, because otherwise I'm calling God on the carpet and telling him this is where he blew it. It couldn't have happened otherwise, but I can notice, awakeness can notice that's not very skillful, and it probably doesn't bear repeating, although it may repeat itself numerous times, because I'm powerless to stop it. I'm powerless to stop it directly. I'm not powerless to stop it indirectly, because indirectly what I can do is I put my attention on this unit's unskillful patterns. I'll put it on yours too. Yours are easy to spot. Mine are not so easy to spot. But generally, so far I've gotten around to it, and I find them. And at that point, attention starts paying attention to attention, and awakeness ain't going to be far behind. It's actually going to be right there, but it may or not be recognized in that second. So the shoe dropping is having an awakening experience and then believing either that you didn't have it or that you lost it. And the thing that will either have lost it or didn't have it is always going to be this. It's always going to be Fred. Fred had an awakening, because this is what happened to me in 1992. Exactly what happened to me in 1992. And it's what is going to happen to 95% of you. And so I woke up in 1992. I can tell you, I can verify now that it was a non-dual, very clear, non-dual awakening. Brief, mind you. Ego commandeered that thing very quickly. But up until it did, it was a very clear non-dual awakening. And then the next thing that I knew was that there was a Fred here who was claiming that he had just woken up. No, that can't be so. It just can't happen. This unit can't claim to have ever woken up, because this unit doesn't have the potential to wake up. It just doesn't have it's just not there. I mean, I cannot wake up this Red Bull can. Right? I just can't, because it doesn't have the capacity to wake up. Neither does this conditioning, and neither does yours. So it's not the conditioning that's going to wake up. It's awakeness that's going to wake up to the fact of, oh, I've been believing that I was this conditioning. I've been believing that I was this body, and I got handed a story that this body's name was Fred Davis, and there were certain expectations of it, which I failed all of those. After about the age of 4, I don't know. Actually, I was set up in the family to be a failure even before that, because I was the menopause baby. I was the mistake baby. I was the baby that wasn't supposed to happen. And so I was unplanned for, and certainly people in my family thought I was uncalled for. They got into an argument with God, and you see who won, don't you? Just the way it always is. So I woke up 1992, and I saw, now what I woke up to really was, I woke up to what I was, but I didn't really wake up to what I wasn't, which is sort of the opposite of the way that it usually happens. But but there are no rules here. There are no rules about awakening at all. Somebody starts teaching you the rules of awakening, leave. That would be my advice. Eventually, that's what I did, because there are no rules here. There are no rules for awakeness, period. So when they're trying to teach this unit the rules of awakening for this unit, they're in outer space. Okay? You need to really look at what's going on there, because in all likelihood, what's going to be going on there is that you're going to have a unit that considers itself to be awake, teaching these poor other units that haven't had a great good fortune to be awake, to get to awakeness, to come to awakeness, and I'm going to help them out. And that's not authentic spiritual teaching. It just isn't. But it's a lot of it going around, a whole lot of it. Not all of it by any means. There's some very good teachers out there, and some of them influenced me directly, and they're excellent. Some of them have influenced me since in post-awakening, and they're wonderful teachers too. So this is not the key figure in anything. It's not. There's no center here. There's no center here to be a key figure. There's no center here to be awake. What I can tell you is that I am awakeness. And see, this is what happened. If you will listen to this one little bit, I mean, just listen to the language. You're going to see it. Because the truth is that it's not the unit, it's not the meat, it's not the skeletal system or anything else, the nervous systems. None of that shit is what wakes up. Any of that stuff can be utilized as a vehicle. Any of it. It's a dream, folks. There are no rules for you at all. So any of those things can be used. You know, the breath and all this stuff. But those are really just conduits. That's what they are. And they can be helpful, but they tend to be more harmful than they are helpful in the long run, I think. Because we develop beliefs, because I had a belief for years. Even after having woken up in 1992, what happened is that almost right after that, there was the sense of, ooh, there was the claim that there was a Fred Davis sitting in that chair, and it was Fred actually sitting on that bed, and that it was Fred Davis who had woken up. And oh my God, I finally got it. Oh, well, this is just great. I've been waiting for this. And now that I finally got it, the first thing I notice is that I'm incredibly special because I got it. I am the awakened guy. Oops. That ain't the guy that wakes up. It's awakeness that wakes up. So I believe that I was awake. Guess what? You don't have the capacity to not be awake because you are awakeness itself. And awakeness actually doesn't have the capacity for sleep, but it can believe that it does, and it does believe that on a very, very regular basis because the conditioning, the pull of the conditioning, the pull of the story that is just, so magnetic and just, oh, God almighty, I'm just all wrapped up in it. So profound, the story of Fred and this, it's all magnetic. It really is. You blow up out of the story and then you notice that the magnet just pulls the story right back together. And that's what happens. And at that point, what I noticed in 1992 was, wow, am I special? Because I just woke up. I should really share this with everybody. Because, and I'm going to share it with everybody. And then maybe they'll treat me the way I always should have been treated, which is with deference, right? Maybe now I'll get some money and some girls, yeah? It's amazingly how shallow you can be for so long and then wake up anyway. Because there are no rules. And actually there would be times of depth. There were times prior to that 1992 awakening. I was having spiritual experiences left and right. And I don't know how many of them I made up and how many of them I really had. I don't. I suspect that there were plenty of both. But there was a deep seriousness here underneath the shallowness. But all of that got overcome with the I have achieved enlightenment. I have achieved enlightenment. And that's the biggest lie there is. Because who is it that's achieved enlightenment? There's no I here. There's an I, so to speak, but I can't even find it. I just know that there's that I know that there is a sense of being here. That's all I can report. I can't even say I am. There's a sense of being here. I recognize that. I can report that. That's the truth of that. Now, there's a deep suspicion that there's something that might have the sense of being, that to which the sense of being occurs. And I have full faith in that. And it feels like I have had experiences of that, but I can't have had experiences of it but the character could. See, the character, you can be it, but you can't see it. And there's some kind of bleed through that it can occur for the character. In satsang, when we get together, you can watch. People will just, and that's because we begin to embody the awakeness of which we're speaking about, right? We just, we recognize, oh, there's just this, and I'm it. But you can come to see that there's just this, and I am it, and you can lose it. And you can lose it in very short order. I have had awakening sessions where I've watched people backpedal because they were unwilling to accept the truth. Because what they wanted was they didn't want a non-dual experience. What they wanted was a special dualistic experience, so that they could report to their friends and themselves, look in the mirror, oh, you're the awake one, and tell all their friends, I woke up, listen how special I am, all this and that and the other. Quite the accomplishment, wouldn't you say? Yeah, but for nobody, right? That's the truth. So, did I mention there's a video, I think, called Clarity versus Wakefulness? I think I did. It doesn't matter. So, if I didn't, I'll put it in the things. And, I tried to cut this thing 2 or 3 times before I could actually cut it. I got moving along with it very, very fine, and then a nail gun started going off in the next room. Bam, bam, bam. Which was just right. See, because that was not the part of life that was not supposed to be happening. Because life actually was not centered around this unit cutting this video. See, this was just a very marginal little happening. Hell, the nail gun might have been more important than building a wall in there. Oh, and it rattles, huh? That's what it does. Just get it wound up and it just rattles on. It just, because this unit is not doing it. This unit's not talking to you. It looks like this unit's talking to you. I understand that. And from a relative standpoint, I would never deny that because they put me away. But this unit is being utilized to talk to you. This is awakeness. And with one thing going on, guess who in the hell I'm talking to? I'm talking to awakeness. I'm talking to myself. I'm talking to myself because there is nothing else there's nothing else. Stop. Full stop. There's nothing else. What are we talking about? Awakeness. Why? Because there's nothing else. But if you claim to be awake or claim to have failed to be awake or claim that you were awake, what are you always talking about? It's unit-centric. It's always about the unit. It's always about the character unit, right? The character being sort of the personality that appears to be solid-like, but isn't. And the unit, of course, is just the body. So be prepared for the fact that awakening comes and goes. I've been talking about it. I mean, awakeness never comes and goes, but fullness, conscious wakefulness for the unit, you know, for the conscious, oh, the unit's never consciously awake. Oh God, language just fails me so badly. But awakeness is sometimes consciously awake and more frequently not, right? And it's not missing being consciously awake. It doesn't know anything about conscious awakeness. See, conscious awakeness can know quite a bit about unconscious awakeness, but unconscious awakeness can't know squat about conscious awakeness, because only conscious awakeness can know about either unconscious awakeness or conscious awakeness. You are awakeness. That's much more like a verb than it is a noun. You are awakeness. Well, I could even go so far as to say that you are awakenessing. And that would be true. You are awakenessing. And so when I say you, I'm just talking to me, and I don't even know what the hell that is. I don't even know if it is. I can't say I am. I can only report that there's a sense of being. But at any rate, we wake up and we are just overjoyed. You know, some of us are actually disappointed when we wake up, because we were so focused on getting a specific result for the ego that we're actually not interested in this. And see, the problem is there's not anything else. So if this isn't enough for you, you're going back into the drain. Because this isn't enough for you means that there's not a complete awakening, not a full awakening over there. It means that there's been something there's been a glimpse, perhaps. There's been a better understanding intellectually or something, but not really. But I mean, that can be conscious awakeness, can pop in and pop out. It does it all the time. It does it all the time with ordinary people walking down the street. Ordinary people walking down the street wake up. And it was seekers wake up. Don't forget the ordinary people. Let's say it's a sidewalk full of seekers, and they're waking up. They're waking up regularly, many of them. But they don't recognize it, because what they know is that, well, it can't be this. The only problem is when there's only this, what else can it be? See how logic just kills any alternative to what is. It kills any alternative. It kills any comparison. There's just this. You are it, and it is now. Only now. This is not permanently awakened. It's not even temporarily awakened. But there's nothing over here that's permanently awakened. There is something over here that is awake to this moment, and that's something that's a nothing. Now, double talk. I know. Welcome to paradox. Get comfortable with paradox, or find another field to get interested in, right? Find drones or get a religion, but it's not going to work here. So I get emails from people who, and they're not necessarily my students. These are people who end up becoming, many of them become my students, or clients, whatever you want to call yourselves. I don't care, but friends. So I get friends write me, but but I don't think that's as specific as we want to be here. So I'll call them students and clients, if you don't mind. So I get emails from potential students and clients who tell me all about their awakening that happened 25 years ago. I was on the beach. It was right at sunset. I was sitting by myself. The ocean was coming in. My dog was cuddled up right beside me, and boom, right? I woke up, and I was awake for 2 weeks, 2 months, even 2 years. And this is really sad to hear, isn't it? God almighty, I know it's sad to hear, but I worked with a Zen monk who had been awake for several years and woke up one morning and wasn't. In other words, but he was never awake. He was conscious awakeness. He was operating as conscious awakeness, or conscious awakeness was operating through that body. The Tao was working relatively unhindered through that body, and then boom, you started believing thought. I don't know what happened. I didn't know as much when I worked with that guy as I do now, but the odds are that there was something that happened, or there was something that was already going on that was even more compelling than the truth, which is like, oh my God, I just lost my girlfriend, I just lost my job, I just lost my mother, I just lost my wallet. It doesn't have to be a whole lot, right? I just lost it golf. I mean, I don't know. It could be just about anything. And what we do is we believe that that's true. But before we believe that that's true, there has to be someone for that to be true to. So what's the first believed thought everywhere, every time, all around the world? I'm a Fred, or I'm a Bob, or I'm a Mary. That's what it is. And the moment that I'm a Fred or a Bob or a Mary, the second thought kicks in, and second believed thought kicks in. And that second thought that kicks in is, and there's something wrong here. And typically there'll be the third, which is that I need to fix it. But the second one is enough. There's something wrong here, which is, damn it, I lost at golf. I shouldn't have. I'm better than he is. I know it. I beat him every time. Why, how come he got today? What kind of demon is upon me out here on this golf course, right? I don't play golf. I'm just using golf as an example. Kind of interested in watching it sometimes on television, not for long, but it's kind of fascinating to watch because it's very thin, very thin. Baseball too, but I don't watch sports. There's no time. There's no time. I mean, you can't believe how busy it is over here. I mean, I thought that becoming a spiritual teacher was like going into retirement. Man, it was like coming out of a retirement that I didn't even know I was in, right? It's much, much busier now, but calm about it, okay with it. And it happens as it happens, like everything else. So there's not been any mistakes here. This unit is exactly where it's supposed to be. It's precisely as awake, and as awake, it is as precisely as bright. You are conscious awakeness. I like to use that word bright because awakeness is conscious awakeness is bright awakeness. Bright. There can be wakefulness there, but there's no clarity, and that is not. That's brighter than than what surrounds it, but it's not really bright. These people who write me about these awakenings that they had 25 years ago, or 20, or 2 weeks ago, or 3 months ago, and I get a lot of this. And that this is where there's a lot of latent wakefulness there. There has been a legitimate non-dual awakening experience, but experiences have beginning, a middle, and an end. You have no beginning, you have no middle, and you have no end. So you cannot be an experience. You cannot be anything that comes and goes. You are that which does not come and go. And you can check it any time. You can ask yourself, really look at it. What is it that doesn't come and go? What is it? And let me give you a tip off, is that when I was doing that, I was thinking, I was operating as a Fred. And Fred was trying to find that which doesn't come and go. Fred will never find that which does not come and go. That which does not come and go only becomes conscious in the absence of the guy who was looking for it, right? Only becomes, we keep expecting conscious awakeness to rise to our ego, to our character. And it only arises in the absence of the character. character, and you can't make the character go away, but you can be tricked into looking beyond the character, which is sort of what my job is. I just sort of go around the world and trick myself 4 times a day. Or, you know, don't do awakening sessions 4 times a day, but I talk to people 4 times a day. And very often a session that's not an awakening session will be a reawakening session, because this is just so, the pull is just so strong. I mean, it's, when I first woke up, I couldn't believe, I just couldn't imagine why everybody didn't wake up. It was just so incredibly obvious. And then I went into oscillation. I lost it. Oscillation is the time bomb, but it doesn't have to oscillate much. There's just the awakening, and there's a where the hell did that go? And I had this happen last week. It does not usually happen this quickly, but it is that the brightness that wakes up, it cannot burn that brightly forever. The unit just can't even function properly with that kind of flame. So somewhere, sometime in post-awakening, for almost everybody, there's going to be a sense that I lost it. And that will always be the character trying to reclaim what the character thinks it's lost. But the character never woke up. Awakeness is what woke up, and awakeness cannot lose itself. Oneness can't fall out of itself. That just can't happen. Be prepared for the time bomb. Because the thing is that you're trained from birth to believe thought. And that's a natural, I think that's a natural inclination anyway, but we were certainly trained into believing thought. Thought. We're trained into believing thought, and the default position for awakeness, when awakeness believes that it's one of these instead of all of these and all of everything else, and even beyond that, is to believe thought. So let's just say, talk about you as if you were an individual just for a moment, because it's easy to talk that way, even though it's inaccurate. Still, it's easier. So your default position is to believe thought. That's what you do. Thought arises, it's unowned thought. You didn't author it, but you claim it, right? It just comes in, oh, that's my thought. But the thing that comes in and says that my thought is just a pattern. There's no one there. There's no owner there. Even when I say that's my thought, I'm talking about a construct that is not real. I'm talking about a concept that is not so. You can't lose it because you can't get it because you're it. We use the term get it because this thing is grokked, but it's not really grokked by Fred. Fred, which is what grokking meant originally, knows that this human being really just gets something on a very deep level. What we mean is that awakeness grokks the truth. And it'll feel like Fred woke up, maybe, until it doesn't. It no longer feels like Fred woke up here, because there's no Fred. There's no way he woke up. There's no way he was ever asleep. There's no way that there's just no Fred. See, none of that can happen. But when I believe there's a Fred, I can believe that I woke up, and I can believe that I lost it, and that's the other shoe dropping, and it is perilous. And it can be deeply suffering. I know, I went through it. I get suffering emails from people. Sometimes, you know, my clients also go through this. So if anybody has ever preached that you must pursue this, that you must clear, it's got to be me. It's got to be me. What I do is help you with an initial awakening, and then I help you clear. That's the living method, is waking you up first, and then we clear. We don't go up the stairs toward clarity. We start at the top of the stairs with awakening, and we walk down the stairs into greater and greater clarity. It's like we're walking into thinner and thinner clouds, right? Ask my students that have been with me for years. They get it. I mean, that's what some of them are still doing. I mean, it's not like they're dependent on me for their wakefulness. But the hell, they're friends. They don't want to miss it. I mean, we had people here a couple of weeks ago, joyful, just absolutely joyful. So I guess I about beat this thing to death. Be prepared for the time bomb, because it's gonna go off. And what you could do right now is you could go write yourself a note if you're not awake right now, even if you are awake right now, go write yourself a note that says oscillation will come and go. The sense that I woke up will come, and the sense that I lost my awakening will come. And clarity will typically follow. I cannot tell you every single time. There are no rules here. I can tell you generally. And I can tell you that generally, if you pursue this, then some clarity will occur. But the problem is that you can't understand what all these teachers are saying unless you're already awake. I mean, you are already awake. Don't get me wrong. I mean, that you are already consciously awake. Once you're consciously awake, then you can hear what he is saying, he is saying, he is saying. You can't miss it. But you can sit there as an unawakened unit until the cows come home. And you can get a nice lift, a little bit of a buzz, a little shock to you. Hey, that was great. It was a good experience. You might even get a glimpse. But unless it's a damn good glimpse, you won't know what the hell they're talking about. You really need to have a sustained awakening with some duration. And that even if somebody goes to sleep after they talk to me, I had this happen last week. There's a guy out there right now, he might be watching this video, and he woke up with me very easily, very clearly, nice guy. And he left me very happy, very grateful. Oh, thank you so much, thank you so much. And about 9 o'clock that night, I got an email that said, "Hey, Fred, is it normal to feel like nothing happened?" And I wrote him back and said, "Well, who is it that feels that way?" Something like that. Or who is it that wrote this email? He wrote back and said, "The character," which is true. And I thought, hell, I got him back out. I pulled him back out into truth. But about an hour later, I got another email that says, "Even if I think it's the character, I think it's the character. That's the character talking about the character." It's so insidious. Woo! So we have to, when awakening, in an awakening session, which I'm not pushing, I'm just saying, in an awakening session, I don't wake somebody up once. I wake them up 50 times, 60 times, 70 times. I don't know. Over and over, maybe 30 times. And maybe I'm exaggerating, but I don't believe it's 30. I believe it's more than that, because it's just over and over again, because that's what it takes to get, in order for there to be any sense of duration. And typically there is at least a lot more duration than that. But it's going to, in all likelihood, cloudiness will return. And it's okay, because you can't wake up wrong. That's not the part that's not supposed to be happening. But if you decide that that is the part that shouldn't be happening to you, says the character, you can suffer your ass off for a long time, because I've suffered tremendously for 3 years in post-awakening, from 2006 and through 2009. And so almost, I don't know, maybe 2.5 years, 3 years, something like that. There was just this oscillation, because mine was not like, oh, I see it now, and then I don't see it again for 2 hours or 2 days. Mine would be very, very profound, and then I wouldn't see it again for 3 months, and I would think that I had lost it. I wouldn't see it again. See, I'm speaking as an individual there, and there's no individual here, but that's the experience, is that there's an individual here who had something special, and then they lost it. That's not true. You have 2 options. One is not an option. You're gonna believe thought. There's one way out of that. That's non-dual inquiry. It's the only way I know. The odds of you just coming out of that because you're singing in a choir are very remote. I'm not going to tell you it's impossible. There are no rules for you. But these things, and even meditation, I mean, for God's sake, listen, I've woken up Tibetan Lama, right? I mean, honest to God, been a Lama for 12 years. Got a lot of followers. Lost it, simply started to believe thought again. Thought can be believed here. If I stump my toe, it's not awakeness that screams, it's Fred. And what Fred knows is, damn it, this is wrong. What kind of idiot put that chair there? And typically it will be this idiot that put that chair there. Okay, so I hope you got it. How ironic is that? It's good to be with you, and I hope to be with you again, but I'm actually with you always. I can't not be with you because we are the very same thing. And you really and truly are already awake. Love you.